online at cbdbotanicalsonline.com.
Drive your family in style this school year in a brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee L from Landmark Chrysler Jeep in Springfield. The Grand Cherokee L is the hottest new Jeep product to hit the streets and is taking the country by storm. With all of the luxury of the Grand Cherokee, but bigger and better. Featuring 3 rows of seating, best in class second row legroom, and 16-way adjustable seats. It's luxury extended. Shop the all-new Grand Cherokee L during the Make This Summer event at Landmark Chrysler Jeep Prairie Crossing. Drive your family in style this school year in a brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee L from Landmark Chrysler Jeep in Springfield. The Grand Cherokee L is the hottest new product to hit the streets and taking the country by storm. With all of the luxury of a Grand Cherokee, but bigger and better. Featuring 3 rows of seating, over 110 safety features, and the all-new U-Connect 5. It's luxury extended. Shop the all-new Grand Cherokee L during this Make This the Summer event at Landmark Chrysler Jeep Prairie Crossing.
Stay informed, stay connected with WMAY on 92.7, 94.7, and 970 AM, and online at WMAY.com.
Well, as we've been talking about all morning long, Governor J.B. Pritzker expected to talk about vaccine mandates for educators and mask mandates for everyone 2 and over inside. And that's something that the Chicago Sun-Times has been reporting here. So you've got the headline, Pritzker to order indoor masking for all 2 and up, plus mandatory vaccines for educators from kindergarten to college. Didn't necessarily want to talk about this with my next guest, but overnight with the headline, we're kind of juking and jiving here a little bit to get you the latest reaction on this. But I definitely also want to talk with State Representative Avery Bourne about the issue of masks in schools. So, Representative, thanks for taking time with us this morning on the WMAY Morning Newsfeed.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, the vaccine mandate for educators K through 12, that apparently is something the governor is going to announce today. Have you, as a lawmaker at the State House, a local elected official who has teachers and professional educators as some of your constituents, were you notified of this beforehand?
No, I had to wake up and read this like everyone else and like every other educator, right, who's getting ready to go to work to teach our students. They had to hear about this from the news. If they've even heard about it, maybe they're hearing it here first. And that's really upsetting for a few reasons. One, because we elect people to make these decisions about schools, and they're called school board members. And as you've seen with these other statewide mandates that Pritzker has handed down on vaccines, it's subject to collective bargaining. Well, there's collective bargaining at the local level, too. And so I think this is just wrong for so many reasons. Not the least of which is the governor continues to go this alone instead of having people at the local level make these decisions, talk to their teachers about what's best for their own school. This is just preposterous. It's masks, it's vaccines, all of it.
We're talking with State Representative Avery Bourne and this issue of collective bargaining on a local level. You've also got the governor talking about how he still wants to negotiate with AFSCME to get vaccine mandates for certain state employees. The union's pushing back, saying that their members, some of them are concerned about the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, I'm not going to ask you about your vaccine status or anything like that. That's entirely your public health or your personal health decisions. But what are you hearing from constituents when it comes to just a general idea of requiring people to have a vaccine in order to not only take part in their job, but also to take part in normal things in society?
Yeah, I talk to people on a pretty daily basis who have questions or are, as they're saying, vaccine hesitant, right? I don't think a lot of them are, militantly anti-vaccine. They have some outstanding questions. And I think turning this into a fight of a Governor Pritzker statewide mandate, instead of talking to people and answering people's questions and having a rational conversation, is actually doing a lot of harm. I wish that this were conversation. I'm willing to tell my constituents who are vaccine hesitant, I got the vaccine. I had no symptoms. My husband has the vaccine. We literally talked to our doctor about it. These are the kind of conversations we should be having with people that we trust, with our family members. But Governor Pritzker issuing a statewide mandate actually, I think, hurts those conversations, makes this more political, takes away these important conversations, which hurts our purpose in the end of, encouraging folks to get the vaccine to end the pandemic. This is what I consider a miracle drug, right? Donald Trump took it. We should be talking about these things instead of a statewide mandate that makes it political instead of getting to the facts in these hard conversations.
State Representative Avery Bourne with us at 7:15 on the WMAY morning news feed. I'm Greg Bishop, and Representative, we've got also the issue of the mask mandate in schools. Dozens of school districts on probation could face some kind of disciplinary actions, including withholding of funding, let alone they're on probation right now. They can't partake in certain types of sporting events. And also high school graduates from districts that are on probation could see their diplomas not recognized. ISB didn't show up to JCAR last week and the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, and they say that they had their board meeting, but a JCAR member telling us that they should have been able to send somebody to field some questions, and that didn't happen. So do we have just a complete lack of oversight of everything that's going on with the governor unilaterally moving forward, and how can you, as someone in the Republican minority, actually do anything about that?
We have seen a complete lack of oversight of this administration in its response to the pandemic, but also just other executive incompetencies that we've seen. One thing we were able to get done was an audit of IDES. We were able to pass that through the General Assembly on a bipartisan basis. I hope we see similar measures when the legislature returns. There are ways we can hold the executive level accountable if they're not answering basic questions of the legislature. So kudos to JCAR for asking them to come and answer questions. I'm disappointed that they didn't, but we see a majority of states across this country are allowing this decision about masks in schools to be made at the local level. A majority of states, we're the outlier in mandating it statewide. And like I said before, we elect school board members to make these decisions, and they're held accountable at the local level. And they also are given all of the facts and information that the governor is getting, right? They can do all of the same research. And so for this to be Governor Pritzker's decision, I think is disappointing, but also goes against the way that we set up our government. And it's turned people's disappointment on our school board members who have no say in the matter instead of turning it on the governor. And so he's really dividing local communities unnecessarily.
Representative Avery Bourne here on the WMAY morning news feed. Something else that I think is going to be kind of overshadowed by the governor's expected announcement today, which, again, if you're just tuning in, the governor's expected to announce, according to the Chicago Sun-Times, first reporting this, that they're going to mandate vaccines for educators K through 12 and higher ed. Still unclear if that's going to be everybody, right? Public and private. I would imagine it would likely be for public schools, but do you have any indication towards that effect, Representative?
I don't, but I will say his mask mandate was for every school, public and private. So that wouldn't be a first time he's had it apply to everybody.
And then something else that's going to be overshadowed by this announcement, including the statewide mask mandate for anybody over 2 going into a public place. Maps. We go from masks to maps. Hearing today is the first of redoing the legislative maps that the legislature passed in May and the governor enacted in June before the June 30th deadline. But, kind of like they did with the budget, they rushed that through and then they had to come back and redo that. Now they're having to redo legislative maps that were based on estimates. What's going on here and why is this important? Why should taxpayers care?
Yeah, Republicans warned when Democrats passed this before that they were using faulty data, and turns out that they are. They were 30% or 3 times over the allowable deviation from the smallest district to the biggest district. But why this matters is we also said politicians should not be drawing these maps. That's a fundamentally flawed process. And what's happening? The Democrats are going back behind another locked door to draw a second set of maps. And this should be disappointing for every Illinoisan. We have evidence that they're already drawing these maps. And now they're going to have these hearings and pretend to hear from the public and draw a completely new map. And, I talked to folks. I talked to somebody. I was buying a pork chop at the state fair, and they were asking about the legislature. And they said, oh, I'm sure these maps are going to be really fair. And they winked at me. Right? The public knows this, game that they're playing to help them politically rather than to give people a voice. This is another sham hearing to look like they care about the public's input. I'm disappointed by it, but obviously we're going to keep pushing for a fair process and one that politicians aren't the ones holding the pen.
Well, we have the case in the court as well, and the court seemed to indicate, we're going to hold off on any kind of emergency decision here about the maps until after the special session next week. Is it beyond the time, though, for the June 30th deadline? I mean, shouldn't it now be in the hands of the bipartisan commission to draw the maps?
That is our position, that, yes, they did not have a map in place at the deadline that, the one that they had in place we think is clearly unconstitutional. And I think the Democrats have basically admitted that by saying that they have to come back and do a new map. So I think that the court will decide that. Our position is that it should always go to a commission that's not even the one set up in the Constitution. We need to have a new one that's truly independent and doesn't include lawmakers. But we will see how the court rules coming up here in about a month. I think that the Democrats are doing everything they can to hold on to power before this court case comes down.
State Representative Avery Bourne here on the WMAY Morning News Feed at 721. Greatly appreciate you taking the time, and you guys are going to be heading back next week. Anticipate anything else other than maps going to be brought up, energy deal, or, they have that one bill that would allow the Department of Public Health to go after schools to if they don't follow COVID guidance. Again, that didn't pass the Senate. It passed the House. You hearing anything as to anything else that's not map related that could come up?
I think it's totally possible. They said that we're only coming back for the map, but as we learned under the Rauner days, Madigan can dissolve us. Madigan could dissolve us then, and we could pass whatever we wanted. Welch has retained that power. So I've told my constituents be diligent. Anything could come up. I think energy is certainly a possibility, but who knows with this Democratic legislature.
Greatly appreciate your time. We'll see you back here in Springfield in just a matter of days. All right, be safe.
Sounds good.
State Representative Avery Bourne here on the WMAY Morning News Feed. All right, let's take a break, come back, and hear business in the 217, where we've got Logan County being the focus and their tourism opportunities with some events coming up this weekend. All right, your forecast, a hot one. The high of 92, 105 heat index. Chance of showers later this morning. Chance of showers tonight, the low of 74. Showers not really cooling things down. Friday, the high of 93 with 105 heat index. And then Friday night, mostly clear, the low of 74. Right now, it's about 73 degrees. Stay informed, stay connected on WMAY. It's 723 from Culver's West on Wabash.
$15 per hour is a lot of cheddar. Culver's